You get the same treatment.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for that question, Ray. On the ballot questions, let's take the gas tax and indexing first. Repeatedly, I hear that this is a forever tax. It's the only tax that goes up with inflation, and that assessment couldn't be more wrong. Every tax that we have, or I'll preface it by saying almost every tax, in case there's one out there that I'm not thinking of, but almost every tax we have raises with inflation. For example, we have the income tax. As salaries are indexed and rise with inflation or decrease with inflation, let's just bear in mind that inflation doesn't always go up, but as your income goes up, you're charged against a percentage. Therefore, the overall tax you pay goes up as your income increases. We'll make the assumption it's going to increase with inflation. You pay a property tax. As your property value increases with inflation, so does the amount that you pay on your property. The sales tax, as goods increase with inflation, the percentage that you're charged against the principal of that good adds up to an increase with inflation. So let's not buy into this whole notion that the gas tax is the only one that will increase with inflation. Second of all, we have 3 bridges here in Cape Ann. I've got a report that said possibly 4, the bridge going into Annisquam, that need significant repairs. Piot Andrew, significant. And some of you may say yes, but are you watching the cost of that bridge? Yes, I asked the Democratic administration for an audit. Excuse me, Bob. May I continue?
You can go the extra minute that I gave Mike.
Okay.
Point of order, you want to do it all in one? Because I was going to stop you at 2 and then give you the minute 23 seconds, or I can just go right through to the 3:23.
If you just go right through,
right
that would be
Go right
easier.
through.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have 1 minute and 23 seconds.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
So I asked for an audit of the first repair to make sure that we were spending our money wisely. However, the latest information that Senator Tarr and I and the mayor have is that Blimmen Bridge and the train bridge need to be replaced in their entirety. The gas tax is a fair tax in that it's a user fee. Everybody that uses the roads pays according to their use. I drive back and forth some days to Boston twice. I deserve to pay more for the wear and tear that I put on as opposed to somebody who just rides around Cape Ann and doesn't use as much gas. On the casino issue, I voted to have casinos. I still believe in that vote, and I will vote accordingly on the ballot. Earned sick time, let's just say this, it's earned sick time. There are some people right now who do not have any possibility of sick time. And what happens is, as a result of not having sick time, they're confronted with, they are sick, they cannot go to work. We're talking about folks that work in the medical industry. We're talking about folks that work in the food industry. They make the responsible decision not to go to work and they lose their job. That is unfair. And finally, the bottle bill. I still have reservations about the bottle bill. We have legislation currently before us that would deal with the issue more effectively, and that's my reservation right now on the ballot initiative.
Any follow-up, Mike?
Yeah, please. Wow, that's the most convoluted explanation of indexing of the gas tax I've ever heard. I congratulate you on that response, because I could never have dreamed that up. That is unbelievable. If you think that just because, you know, we have increases in inflation, that we should tie every single gas tax, or every single tax to inflation, we should just index everything. You know, the funny thing is, my opponent votes 99% of the time with the Speaker of the House. So we don't actually, she doesn't even need to go into the House. We could just have her save some of that money we're reimbursing her on the gas tax by just staying at home. I mean, it's very, very convoluted. I can't believe that she would come up with that sort of explanation. If you believe that, then I have a bridge I will sell you. Now, on the bridge, Let's just talk about that. I know Ms. Ferrante has spoke and was surprised when all of a sudden, well, I guess I can't answer that. I'll try a different time.
My dear friend Michael, you're paying too much attention to those flyers that are going out. Number one, I just want to address the speaker question. She votes 99% of the time with the speaker. Now, this is where somebody with experience in terms of how the State House works, it's important to have that experience, because I also double-checked how many times Bruce Tarr and I voted opposite each other. Anybody ready for this? A whopping once. And the reason that is because we have consensus bills in the State House. Unlike Washington, we work at the committee level to make sure that everybody can vote for the bill at the end of the day. And I can tell you, too, that my opposition with a minority leader in the House is in single-digit number of votes. As for indexing, I will say this. To anybody who follows construction costs, if you negotiate with a contractor on day one and he gives you a price, he will build into that agreement, like most commercial people do in leases. He will bend into that an increase for inflation. Thank you.
Maybe we did need those metal detectors. We tried to get the Secret Service in here, but they're busy doing their own little seminars. The next question will be asked first to Ann-Margaret by Mr. Phipps.
Thank you. Representative Ferrante, while the most recent job numbers have shown signs of improvement, Cape Ann's overall unemployment rate consistently ranks at or above the state norm. What are the biggest economic challenges facing the Cape Ann area, respectively, and what would be some ways that you, as state representative, would address each of these challenges?
Thank you. Thank you. So let me talk about the ways that I would address them, and with those will come where our challenges are and how we're overcoming them. Lenny Linquad is in the audience today. I've worked very closely with Lenny and his Gloucester Harbor CDC to get funding into Cape Ann to talk about how we get the harbor moving again. And one of the ways we get the harbor moving again is we have a CDC that can accept revenue through tax credits and revenue through bonding through the state, so that we can repair the infrastructure that's in the harbor in order to attract marine industrial businesses here. I'm proud to say, in terms of the CDC, what we've done is I've done in conjunction with Lenny, is obtain a grant for $100,000 to fund that CDC and $7 million in the environmental bond bill that will be used as 25-75% grants to property owners who want to improve the infrastructure of those properties. That's number one. Number two, Scott Memhardt's here. We worked with Scott's business in terms of how do you save a business that's failing within the fishing industry due to government regulations. We worked dutifully, diligently, to make sure that Scott had the flexibility that he needed under the DPA rules and the financing required so that he could grow his business and do that well. Tourism. I voted to change the tourism formula so that more money comes to Cape Ann through the Regional Tourism Council so that we can promote tourism, and also the formation of 4 cultural districts that I mentioned earlier on Cape Ann that are tourism drivers, and money to each of the institutions anchoring those districts to promote events, to promote our restaurants, and to promote the shops that are alongside of them.
Okay, thank you, Greg. I just want to go back on one thing that was said, which she talked about the vote, which she's voted with Bruce Tarr. What she's telling you is half-truth. Okay, what she's missing is that there would many, as there always is in the House and in the Senate, amendments offered. And when you look at the actual amendments, which are actual votes, she voted not with the Speaker. And in fact, why she doesn't like the flyers of Mass Fiscal Alliance is because they're the truth. Go look it up yourself if you don't believe it. She voted 10% of the time for fiscally responsible, and Bruce Tarr voted 96% of the time. Now let me get to the question. The question regarding the economy and the economy here on Cape Ann. So there's a few things we can do. One of the things that Governor Patrick did back when he was elected is he looked at a study from Harvard and said, you know, we should probably invest in research for life sciences. And he did this because there was a very well-known professor there who had provided these studies. So they voted for it, and they voted to have $1 billion for life science research. Governor Patrick sold this to the Senate and the House and the Massachusetts voters as providing 250,000 jobs. Unfortunately, since it's been in place and we've spent $500 million, it's only generated 600 jobs. That's a cost of about $900,000 per job. Back when Governor Weld was in office, the problem is that 2/3 of the jobs in Massachusetts under research come from general research, not just from life sciences. So back when Governor Weld was in office, he implemented a basic research and development credit, tax credit, which saw a 50% increase in research and development spending. Right now, even though we've moved up in research and development amongst other states, we're getting our ass kicked by California. So we need to develop a full research and development credit. And then here on Cape Ann, I know I've got the stop sign. I'd like to address this in my follow-up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to follow up on that question as well in what Michael just said. So I'm the Vice Chair of Economic Development. Raytheon comes in to see me. And Raytheon says, Madam Vice Chair, we want to create 200 more jobs here, but we need to bring the tax code in line with 40 other states. What would you like to do about that? Anybody can go and check my record. I am the one who filed the amendment in the House along with 4 other tax credits plus 1 tax exemption for business to make sure research and development jobs stay here in the Commonwealth. Now, specifically to Cape Ann, along those lines, I've worked with Joe Rosa and I've worked with 4 of the top biotech scientists on Cape Ann. I'm proud to say I funded $200,000 worth of research that is being done right now on Cape Ann to look at the genome of cod to determine whether it's Gulf of Maine cod, Georges Bay cod. But more importantly, with that project, the 4 scientists are committed to establishing the Gloucester Academy. It will be an academy on the waterfront that will train students with 1 year of intensive training to be superior lab technicians to do the work that biotech companies are doing right now. They will be able to be hired at any biotech company once their certification is completed. The first class is anticipated to start in 18 months. That is how we get jobs on Cape Ann. We bring in the business leaders. We say, what is it that you need to do to start here? We then say to them, what can you do not only in terms of research, but what can you do in growing the workforce? Because 9 times out of 10, when a business comes into my office and says, I want to locate in this location, the following question is, what do you have in terms of workforce? What do you have in terms of infrastructure incentives?
Okay, follow up on that. There's 2 other things that I think we should do, and let me get a little more specific. One is Massachusetts is only one of just a handful of states that currently has an inventory tax, and we need to eliminate that inventory tax. Now, we may not be able to do it in the first year, but we can do it over, let's say, a 3-year period. That should be one of the things. And then additional to that, even though I'm not in the process of normally complimenting New York State has put in place a 0% manufacturing tax. I think that we should do that here in this state so that over a 10-year period there's 0 tax on manufacturing. But I actually want to specifically do it here on Cape Ann. Now we look at the fishing industry and how the fishing industry has been devastated, but we don't see a lot of things being done to say, okay, so since that's been devastated and a lot of jobs have gone away because of that, what can we do specifically to get jobs, people full-time, year-round employment? And I think by creating a 0 tax manufacturing zone here on Cape Ann, And we could argue this for both Cape Ann and New Bedford because of the devastation we have both seen both communities.
Now we will have the candidates pose questions to one another, and we'll also give time for follow-up on that. And so now Michael gets a chance to ask Ann-Margaret a question.